Hey everyone, it's Live at 5 in the Recover Resiliently Facebook group. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for those of you who have been participating, who have been attending live. You know, my girl Nicolette, she's on point, and I just can't thank you guys enough for being on this journey with us and on the guest speakers. And I hope you got something very valuable out of each lesson. So if you're watching the replay, do hashtag replay and let me know where you're listening in from, because I know everyone is here from like all different parts of the world, but I scheduled this for 5 p.m. Pacific, so we're going with that. Okay, so today's recap, we are talking about Holly Mignosi, NLP speaker, trainer, and body language coach. So she teaches this thing called hypnotic selling, and we met in a mastermind. And, I didn't really know much about her. I'm like, storytelling, speaking. And then when she said her story of how, she had to leave because her baby had, found her drugs. So if you haven't listened to the whole story, go ahead, listen to that interview. It is really good. I mean, she's a speaker, so her content is really good, very succinct, very to the point. That's because that's what she teaches. And she's also my speaker coach. So, but yeah, she was on the summit before she became my speaker coach. So just to show you that, you never know where your connections are going to come from. And I know a few of you are here because of Holly, and just so glad to have you. So going over Holly's body language tips, right? So she talked about a few things about NLP and, sorry, there's something on my computer. NLP and body language tips. There's two that I'm not going to mention here because they are part of the contest. So I'm not going to give away the answers here. If you ask my husband, I am the mean teacher. I expect my students to show up and learn and participate. That's just the kind of teacher that I am, even when I was teaching Sunday school. So I'm not one to give away answers. Not one to throw out questions just because people don't know. The answers were given to everyone, and you just have to listen to the interview. It's really simple. Okay, so Holly's body language tips that are separate from the contest questions, right? So she talked about mirroring and matching, right? And she uses this technique in the part where we're talking about, like, if we have someone who is like trying to be domineering, right? This is how we get them. Is this one of the questions? I think it might be, but right, when we are in a conversation with someone who is being mean to us or just has been inherently mean to us. So there was this boss that I had at my job. He's very loud, very domineering, always likes to put people down and make them feel stupid. And he's very tall in stature. He was a football player. So in Hawaii, it's because it's so small, high school football is very important. So like high school football is like college level, and then college level is our NFL team. So he was playing at a pretty good football school, and that's how he, got his ego. And a lot of the people that worked at the refinery, our refinery is on that side of the island, right? So a lot of the people knew about his football prowess, and so they just kind of gave him like respect just because. And of course he had earned it, but there were certain decisions that he was making. I was like, wait, that's like a very I don't want to say stupid, but you know, it's a dumb decision. Why are we doing that? It it's it's hard to implement one, and we're having these X things at risk. Like someone could get hurt, all of that, you know? Um, I'm fancy today. I went to lunch with a therapist who, believe it or not, we met at a meetup, and her office is like in walking distance from where I live. Isn't that cool? Like how God just shows up. And anyway, so I know someone was asking me about therapy, and I'm not a clinical psychologist. I cannot help you, but she is. And if you want her information, she does do video web conferencing sessions via telehealth. And so if you need information, let me know. But yeah, we went to Panera today, and it was just great getting to know her, and you know, being able to refer people to her, that because if she can help you, then that'd be great, right? If any of the ladies in this group you feel like could help you, just feel free to reach out and you know, send them a DM. They're very happy to hear from you. Okay, so back to this guy, right? So his name's Mike. We had a lot of Mikes in our refinery, by the way. So this guy's name is Mike, and he's big, burly kind of man. And he would dominate every conversation, not in a bad way, but when he wanted to get his way, he was very convincing. And it was one of those, he's one of those people where you go to a meeting and he says something and everyone's like looking at each other like, wait, you heard what he said, right? Like that's not possible. Like we can't even do that. But everyone just nods their heads, and either they try to implement what he says or they just do something totally different, and hoping he never finds out that we changed the plan, right? And so this mirroring and matching thing was what came to my this conversation and Holly and I were talking about mirroring and matching was coming to mind, because normally, and this is how I got to work my way up and got respected and promoted in a male-dominated industry, is I started showing up as a leader. I started matching his energy. Because when you come to him with an idea and you're like, hey, I don't know, well, maybe. I used to do that because I was so intimidated by him. You know, like he's a leader, I want to respect him. And so in my mind, being respectful was just being humble, right? If he's doing this, then I'm going to do this, right? But when I was very adamant about what I wanted to do versus what he wanted to do, there was this fire in me that got lit up one day, and I was like, no, Mike, we have to do X, Y, Z. I did all the research. This is going to work. So with all due respect, I want to do this plan. And he was like, okay, yeah. And then he's like, okay. And then he asked me questions just to verify my plan. Then he's like, oh, yeah, okay. As long as we're not violating any, you know, any policies or whatever, go ahead, do it, you know. And that was like game changing for me. And then in the future, because I had, you know, one, I stood up to him, wanted to do the plan, and then I started implementing the plan. He started coming to me, and I was the go-to person, you know, because I didn't back down. I was always, and it wasn't like I was just like matching him, but I was matching him on an intellectual level. I was telling him that I knew what he was talking about. And whatever he's trying to throw at me, I'm like, no, I get it. And, you know, speaking the language. So that's a part of matching too, right? And then the whole pacing and leading was when he was getting all fired up. I know a lot of us who have been in like traumatic relationships, whether we were children or whether we were adults, you know, when we are exposed to someone who's very stresses us out, I guess, in the relationship. I don't want to call people like neurotic or like, but like my ex-husband was like very like emotionally abusive. And so, you know, when we are in those types of situations, we kind of learn and it's like this inner empathy kind of gets built. And so there's this whole narcissist and high empath combination that usually happens. So if you're from Stacy's tribe, from the Emotional Abuse Summit, you probably have dealt with a narcissist or someone in that that realm. And I want to put money that it's 90% likely that you are highly empathic. Okay, so I grew up in an environment where my stepmom, I kind of, bless her soul, like we're better now. Hi, Joy. We're better now, but back in the day, like she was very domineering, very like authoritarian, and I couldn't stand her. And so I grew up in that kind of environment, and like Joy knows, like Asian environment, very stoic, very structured, like you really can't step out of the lines. And that's just the environment that I grew up in. So that was part of what I felt built my high level of empathy that I have today. And so when I'm pretty sure people in this group, because we are high empaths, we can do the pacing and leading thing. When someone is very energized or, you know, very, what is the word? I'm like drawing a blank, but very like out here and very high energy and like maybe even high negative energy. There's a lot of negative energy. We're good at pacing and leading and trying to calm them down, or even pacing and leading with our words and how, you know, how we're speaking, how we're acting, in addition to mirroring and matching. So that is my overview of what Holly talked about and the story that I wanted to tell with my experience using body language and having it shift actual conversations and having it shift people's perspective of me. If we use an example of one of my relationships, with my ex-husband, there was this time where he's like, anytime he wanted to take control of a situation or a conversation, he wouldn't hit me, but he would pick up something and throw it. And like seeing that thing whiz past my face would freak me out, right? I'm like, holy crap, like what's happening? And just his anger was enough to just quench me. You know, like if we were arguing or whatever, and then he would just rise up and like I would feel the angry vibe, then I would shut down, you know, just fight or flight response. I'm just like, whoa, shut down, right? There was this one time where it was like one of the last arguments that we had before I ended up leaving. But I was like, oh yeah, you want to get angry? I'll get angry too. And so this whole matching and mirroring. So I picked up something and I smashed it. And then he stopped. He was like, whoa. And then I just like, rah. And, you know, I had some kind of emotional outburst and I went into the room and I put my face in the pillow and I cried. And then he is so sympathetic. He was like, oh, what happened? Like, are you okay? Like you just went off. And then it was crazy, like how quickly he shut that anger down when I matched it. So I just wanted to say that. Not that you should match anyone's anger and throw and, you know, smash things or what have you. But when someone is always doing this and you're always doing this, they're going to keep dominating, right? So using the matching, not to that extreme, but when you match and mirror someone, it's very effective. So I just wanted to give you 2 examples. Now it's my turn to talk about me. If you have not, go ahead and download the Risk Resilience Matrix. It is actually a chart that, and I don't have one printed out because my printer doesn't print in color, but it's pretty much a chart that I'm drawing it right now. Hold on. I really need a whiteboard. I'm so good with a whiteboard. Oh, it's the right way. Awesome. Okay, there you go. Likelihood and severity, right? So when, this is a question we used to always ask. Okay, so this is not my system. I borrowed this system. It's a tool we use for incident investigation in the refinery. We used, like, there are people that just do incident investigations around the world. There's a system called the HazOps, right? So hazardous operations, and we look at every single piece of equipment and figure out what the hazards are, and if we operate it, what is the likelihood of an explosion, or like I said, coming out of the pipe, right? Like I have a pipe today. I have a pipe analogy that I can use. So like, what is the likelihood that I could spill this drink? High. For me, it's high because I'm not totally clumsy, but I'm not like the most not clumsy, if I put it that way. And what is the severity or consequence of what's going to happen, or the impact of my consequence? If I spill it right now, highly severe consequence, because I'll spill it all over my laptop and my phone and my iPad. And yeah, I have other electronic things here. I have paper here that like has all my precious notes, you know, my brain dumps and downloads and things that I'm learning from all the classes that I'm taking. Oh, here's a quick tip. I lose paper, and I was trying to find a system that worked for me. I just use Dollar Tree paper, just Dollar Tree paper. And it's in chronological order. Yeah, everything's all jumbled up in there, but it works for me. I don't lose anything if I just keep it in a spiral bound notebook. I have other like journals like this, you know, but I don't know, for whatever reason, it doesn't write well for me. Okay. After that squirrel moment, let's go back to the analogy. So what is the severity of me spilling this cup of water all over the place? It's highly likely that it will get everywhere and stuff will get damaged. But if I had it in like a hydro flask, right? It's sealed. If I knock that over, right? The likelihood of a spillage goes way down, and the severity, so there's the same severity. The consequence would be getting water all over my stuff, right? Same consequence that could happen if I spilled something in a hydro flask. I have a speaker, so this could be the hydro flask, right? So if there was water in here and it's completely sealed, the consequence of the water coming out is still the same. But there's no water coming out because it's completely sealed. Like, I'm like, you know, well, see that. So now there's a double consequence if I knock this into this. But so there's even like calculations. There's a whole software built around this chart. Yeah, there's, so this is a 3x3 matrix. They have a 5x5. I had it as a 5x5 before, but then I changed it because it was like, it's too confusing. It's probably confusing now, but I've been using this tool for so long. It's easy for me. And I didn't realize that I was actually using this tool in my personal life. When my friends would call me for advice, on the phone, whatever, I didn't realize that I was actually using this matrix in my everyday life. And when I started thinking about a framework and how I actually help people and how I help them solve problems and come to solutions, I was like, oh, this matrix is what I was subconsciously using to help. Oh, Amber Alert. To help people solve problems, like all the way. So I was telling my friend Lisa at lunch today, she's the therapist I was talking about. You know, you can use it for emotions too. So the example that I gave in the PDF download is what are the chances that my child support is going to get cut off if I don't give in to my ex-husband's demands, right? He could be, so what happened for me was my ex-husband threatened to kill me if I took him for child support. And in my mind, I was like, yeah, right, whatever. Like, you're talking a lot of smack. You're just talking. Because he used to talk a lot, right? There's a lot of verbal threatening going on. And I called my friend. I was like, yeah, he just left. He threatened to kill me if I was to take him for child support. And then she was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he won't take you up on it, but you better be safe than sorry. So it was a Friday night. I went down to the police station and I filed a temporary restraining order. So the police in Hawaii, I don't know how it is in your state. I don't even know how it is in this state, but they drew up a temporary restraining order. And, right, restraining orders, if you come within X amount of feet, then they are in violation. And then you can call the cops and then cops will come. Well, that's how it's supposed to work, right? For those of you who have been in situations, really severe situations, know that it's just a piece of paper sometimes. But, at least there was for me, she said, at least document it. If he's threatening you, document that he's threatening you. Like, put it on paper. Because at this point, we were already seeing lawyers and we were in arbitration because like the lawyers were just like nickel and diming and like draining our bank accounts. And so I did. I went, I got the restraining order. My friend's brother was on duty that night. I mean, just God shows up, right? And I showed up Monday, got the real restraining order, the one from the federal agency, and all of that. And yeah, not that a piece of paper was protecting me, and I didn't, so back to the whole likelihood and severity thing. The likelihood that he was going to kill me, I knew that was not high. It was not high, right? So let's just do this. High, high, medium, 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 low, low, low. Okay, so I knew that the likelihood was not high. That sucks. And then I knew that if he did kill me, severity, this other way, right? The likelihood was not high, but if he did manage to kill me, the severity was very high. So my friend was right to be that it was a high risk. And in the chart, I listed severity as leaving you incapacitated for 7+ days, or 3 to 7 days, which is like half a week, or less than 48 hours. And I was just trying to quantify. I was just trying to quantify that for you and make it applicable to emotional situations. So, and there's a lot of times where friends would come to me and I would use this diagnosing chart. Let me see what I have here. Oh, okay. So use the chart, right, to determine likelihood and severity of thing. So, all that being said, thank you for being here. And oh yeah, I'm gonna do a recap of everybody that came through. Right. So everybody that came through. Let's just talk a little bit about everybody who came through. Oopsie. So right, Stacy Brookman talked to us about narcissistic relationships and how to leave. And Joy Rika, who was on here earlier, she talked about yoga therapy and relationships, and her free gift is a sleep meditation to help you just quiet those nagging thoughts that plague you when you're trying to go to sleep. And then next up we have Annabelle Quintanilla, my friend who's a master essential oils coach, and she's a whole life coach. So she's certified in all different kinds of things: NLP, transformational coaching, essential oils through, she trained with Dr. Axe. I don't know if you guys know who Dr. Axe is, but he's one of the leading people in health and essential oils these days. And right, she has this machine that she hooks you up to, takes a bio reading and tells you the top essential oils that you're lacking, or things that are happening in your body, and it gives you recommendations for these oils. It's super cool. She also built me my own personal blend, which I don't have here, but I called it Aloha Unveiled because that's my brand name. And yeah. And then we had Laurelyn. So today's her birthday. So if you see Laurelyn, or you want to comment and leave her post, today is her birthday. Happy birthday, Laurelyn. She was talking about art therapy, or how she uses art as therapy. I know there's art therapy is a whole thing, but how she uses art, has own personal therapy to slow herself down, just be more mindful, meditative, and get her out of her depression, right? And she helps you to find and create your happy place. I mean, we all need some kind of happiness in our lives, right? Something to look forward to. Like when I was going through my stuff, like life was not the greatest, but I like going to work because, the guys used to cook. It's kind of like living in a firehouse. So we had kitchens, and we'd stay overnight, and they would cook. I didn't cook, and I was a single mom at the time and working so many hours. I didn't really have time to do groceries a lot of the time. So like I would just throw random things together for the kids to eat, and like, here, fried chicken, or not even not fried chicken, but chicken that was fried in a pan with some herbs and seasonings and stuff. I'm like, here's food: meat, rice, vegetables, solid 4-square or 3-square meal, right? And so, that was my happy place, going to work, hanging out with the guys, and, having the camaraderie and the support there. That was my happy place when I was going through my divorce. Also church, and serving in the church, and serving the children's church, and and stuff like that. That was good for me. And then next we have Stacy Mclean. She is the founder of the Aging Parent Project, and we talked a little bit how to like declutter your space but involve your children, so that you're building a legacy at the same time. And when we are going through emotional issues and we leave the kids out of it, it makes it harder for them. It just makes it harder for them. So like when you're cleaning out things, children can take more than we think they can. Well, I know mine can, and I know I could have handled more than what my parents showed me. Like, they're not as fragile as we think, and if we keep hiding stuff from them, you know, they're not going to have emotional resilience because they're not exposed. I don't know, like coronavirus. I don't know why I'm talking about it again, but I feel like I should. Same thing, like not exposing ourselves to viruses, right? It lowers our immune system. Like when things are too clean, like it leaves us susceptible because our body's not building up antibodies to fight against this virus. Well, yeah, if you don't know, I have a combat medic background. I did that also when I was in the Army as a prerequisite to the mental health position. So I do have some medical background. I was assigned to a medical unit when I was in the Army. Anyway, and then I studied at the Health Coach Institute as well. So yeah, you know, like having your children declutter their space like together. I don't know about you, but I'm the kind of parent that I don't like to do too much for my children because I want them to learn. I want them to have a hands-on experience. Because in the beginning of their lives, I used to clean their rooms when they were gone. They thought they had like a clean room fairy. They would come back like, oh, my room's clean, toss trash, you know. And I would get so frustrated because, you know, my love language is acts of service. So them, you know, trashing their rooms, making more work for me, is making me work harder and not appreciating my acts of service for them. So Stacy and I, in our interview, we really encouraged you to go ahead and, you know, declutter, clean up your space with them. I know sometimes you have to leave with the shirt on your back. I have done that in the past. It's not fun. It's not fun. And then we also talked about, so like say that this is a stack of Post-its, but like, oh yeah, you know, Post-its. I remember that Post-it, or let's just use this coaster then, for example. It's brand new. I just bought it at the dollar store because I just love what it says. Do what you love and love what you do. But let's say this was older and I wanted to, like, we're going through some of my things. I could tell my kids, like, hey, you know, that coaster, I bought that when I first moved to California, when I first set up my office, and I just started my practice up again in California. And, you know, this was the motivation for me to keep going, to do what I love and love what I do, instead of wanting to go back to corporate America. Because, yeah, they're still asking me to come back to work at the refinery, but yeah, that's for another day. That's called setting boundaries and knowing what you want. So that was Stacy Mclean, decluttering and aging parents. Nicolette, self-care queen, she and I did a live on Wednesday. We talked about the 5 love languages and how we can love ourselves through self-care based on our love language. And the example that she gave on the live was she takes bubble baths because hers is physical touch and quality time. So by taking a bubble bath, she said, by submersing in water, like your skin is being touched like on all sides. So it's like a perfect physical touch, self-care modality. And then it's also quality time, right? Because when you're soaking in a tub, your kids usually are not there. Well, sometimes they do, they just jump in the tub, but you know, for the most part, when mom's in a bubble bath, it's like, oh, right? If you're in the shower, whole different story. If you're on the toilet, forget about it. But yeah, so self-care systems using your love language. And don't forget to grab her PDF and her video, because she created it specifically for us here on the Recover Resiliently Summit. I think I'm talking too much. Hold on. Because I have a lot to say about this next one, right? Leonie Morris. She's from the UK. Yay! She's from the UK, and she's an energy psychologist. So she learned about energy through her near-death experience and the energy of her negative words, the negative words that she spoke over herself when she was younger. And she was a clinical psychologist, and she was a serial killer. I want to call her an analyst, but she analyzed the serial killers' moves and try to predict like where they would strike next, kind of like the movie Seven. But then she was also like studying these guys, so she'd be locked up in a cell with them, like Clarice in The Silence of the Lambs, but instead of being outside of the cell, she was inside the cell. Lot of good takeaways from that. And if you want to learn more, like our interview was such a tiny chunk, go ahead and join her Facebook group, Stay Forever Young Coaching group on Facebook. If you have any questions, write a post, tag her. She's super active in this group, and I'm so thankful for her being active in this group, because just the love that she has is like so good. And then fun fact, I wear a lot of like high neck stuff, but I don't know if you can see. Wait, hold on. I have this birthmark. So when we were on the phone, oh, there's comments. I see those comments. Cool. So right, I have this birthmark. Her brother, she has a twin brother that has the same birthmark. How crazy is that? You know, Holly introduced us and we got to talking, and she noticed my birthmark, and I'm usually so ashamed of it. I was interviewed once for Chevron TV, and I was like, no, I wore a high neck shirt so that it wouldn't, because this was going to like all Chevron employees. So I wore a high neck thing. Yeah. Well, when she commented on it, I was just like, oh, yeah. And then when she told me, she goes, I love it. I don't remember what she called it. Her mom, like, I think it was like a kiss from an angel or something like that. And I was like, oh, I've been kissed. Thank you. So, you know, it just made me feel better about my blemishes. And that's the kind of woman that I brought, you know, to the summit. People who make you lift you up and make you feel good, because you got so much negativity going on like, all around you. You don't need to be put down by our community, you know. Linda Eno. So she's actually born in Morocco, something like that. And then she moved to Austin, Texas. So if any of you are in Austin, you know, hit her up, say hi. She's not on these lives because she's probably feeding her kids dinner. She has 4 kids under 5. And then, right, Nicolette has 3 kids, 1 still nursing. So all of these resilience tips you can totally do no matter where you are in life. And, excuse me, like, yes, you might be emotionally overwhelmed, but I just want to say that it's doable. Okay. Anyway, so Linda Eno, she's a content strategist, but her and I's conversation like we're in groups together and we know each other through business. And then when we started talking, how she built her business was she built 90 days of content out, like she preloaded them all, had her baby, and then it also sustained her through her bout with postpartum depression. And I was like, oh, depression. And then when we're just, in conversation before the recording, we were just talking about planning and how planning doesn't have to be a straitjacket. And I know there are like high empaths are usually highly creative. Of course, you can be structured, but I will guarantee that a lot of you in this group are more of the creative side, right? I'm creative, but I had to learn how to plan and stuff because I worked in a highly technical field and one that could blow everybody up. So I had to put that persona on and learn, project management skills and organization. Not that I didn't know, but like I said, I didn't talk, I didn't really talk about my mom too much, or I didn't finish the story. I grew up like Cinderella. I had a stepmom. I used to think she was evil because she was always telling me, no, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. And I was grounded for getting bad grades. Like, yeah. You know what they grounded me from? They grounded me from books. I love books, like Babysitter's Club, Sweet Valley High. That's the time that I grew up in. So they grounded me from books, or she grounded me from books. Oh, it was like the worst thing for me. I was such a nerd, but she ran everything like clockwork in our house. Like, you have to do this, you have to do this. Even like I had visitation with my mom every weekend. I had to be home Sunday nights at 8 p.m. And like, I would get a whole ear lashing if I wasn't home at 8. I was like, I'm not driving. So, yeah. I mean, it wasn't bad. Like, I know my experiences as a child were not bad, but it was like, what was not said? We had my uncle was like physically abusive to my auntie. And so they were going through a lot. So I always thought that my circumstances and my situation wasn't that bad because they had black eyes, like they couldn't pay their rent, all the stuff. And I'm like, oh, I still have food and I still have a roof over my head. I'm going to private school because the area we live wasn't the greatest. So I went to private school so that I wouldn't be in that really, I don't want to say ghetto public school. But yeah. I don't remember planning. So I'm not naturally born a planner, but I had to learn how to do it, and I thought it was a straitjacket. I thought like, bleh. But if you ask my husband now, he's like, I am the one that wants everything like calendared. And yeah, I'm in a mastermind, and there's this conversation that popped up. I'm like, just put it on your calendar, make it recurring, like set up a system where it's like automatic so you don't have to think about it. Because when I was working 70-hour work weeks and building a business, so I was attending all of these mastermind classes while I was working, I had to manage my schedule. My kids went to private school to drive them around the island. Like if you have kids and you're still driving them around, praise. I'll just give you props. So I know how hard it is, and it's, even if you're a stay-at-home mom, your life revolves around your kids. Like you don't, there's so much like stuff happening. Yeah, give you props. But I had to learn how to be a planner, and it allowed me to just control the chaos. Now that chaos was not happening around me, but I learned how to be in control of the chaos so that it wasn't taking over my life. And, also about decision fatigue, if someone asks you, hey, are you available? Like, you don't have to remember. It's all on your calendar, you know? It's all on your phone. I have paper calendar and I have digital, so that when I'm out, there's no excuse where there's no conflict. So yeah. And here's a calendar tip. I block off times where I want to recharge. Like I plan those things in. I plan the days that we go to Disneyland. I try to plan as much as I can. My husband is very spontaneous. He's like, hey, what do you want to eat for dinner tonight? Do you want to go out for sushi? Like, that conversation literally happened right before I jumped on here. I was like, okay. But I told him every night I'm going live at 5. So he's like, you know, as long as I set those boundaries, he's free to roam around in the free space on my calendar. So that's for you guys who are like, I don't like planning. Planning's a straitjacket. It's not. It lets you take control of the parts that you can, and then allows the fluidity of the white space to, you know, it frees you. Just like having a budget for your money. You, like Dave Ramsey says, you tell it where to go, boom, 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 and his $0, zero base balance, I think it's called. I haven't touched his stuff in a while, but you know, you tell all of your money where to go, and if you have extra, that's usually where we spend it. Like, and I'm like, where the heck did that go? I had extra like $200 this paycheck. Where the heck did it go? But right, if you tell your dollars where to go, you'll be more in control. Same thing with your time. You tell your time where to go, you have more free space. Like instead of play money, you have play time. If that's a better analogy for you. Okay. And then, right, we already talked about Holly and her body language tips. And we talked about the risk ranking stuff. So let me go back here. Does anyone have any questions? This one went long because it did a whole week recap. If you don't have any questions, there's an email coming into your inbox over the weekend, and I'd love for you to fill out a survey. It's super easy, super chill. I just want to know what was your biggest takeaways, and help me prepare better for next time. So I just love your feedback. And for the first 5, well, that's 10. So first 5 people that sign up get a free resilience reboot session with me. So it's 45 minutes worth $197 with me. I mean, I'm just saying all of that so that you guys know, because I did message someone and I was like, hey, you know, you want to connect? And they were kind of leery when I said, I am a coach. Like, yes, I am a coach. It says it right here. I'm an emotional resilience coach. I'm a certified coach. So if that not your vote, then that's fine. But those of you who want access to the resilience reboot, go ahead. Surveys are coming out over the weekend. Fill it out. I'd love to hear back from you. Because I'm actually going to be building some master classes based on your responses. So yeah, those master classes are going to be happening next week, either like Tuesday or Thursday, depending on how many responses we get back and what you guys want to hear about. It's either going to be Tuesday and Thursday, 1-hour sessions, and I'll have all of that information for you once all the surveys come back. So you get an email from me on Monday for the master classes. Yeah, and I think that's it. But yeah, I would love to hear from you. What is your biggest takeaways? What do you guys want to hear more about? And I know a lot of you guys have been inactive over the week. I was considering doing this over a weekend so you guys would be able to participate over a weekend. I think I'm gonna add that to the survey, like what days work best. and what times work best. You know, because this is all for you. I already know all of these things. I know that sounds really rude, but this content is for you to learn. This is stuff that I already know. So I could just be sitting here talking to myself for days, but I'm a teacher 100%. I was a corporate trainer. I taught men that had no idea how to do gasoline, anything in a refinery. Took them off the street, got them in the plant in 8 weeks. So I'm a teacher, I'm a trainer. This is what I do. And honestly, it's hard just talking to that little dot right there. But you know, if this is my classroom, then so be it. I am very I love teaching. So see, I think that is it. So go ahead, look for those emails in your inbox. You'll get the survey. And I mean, so in the resilience reboot, what you will get is we are going to look at your situation, whatever situations you want to have, we'll plug them into the matrix as much as we can do in 30 minutes. And then the last 15 minutes, we're going to build you a specific strategy. I have this thing called the escape plan checklist. So it's everything that Stacy and I talked about on Monday: finances, lawyering up, like when should I lawyer up, and all of that stuff. It's a checklist that you can go line by line. And even if you have a business, like what finances and all the different things that I didn't know about divorce until I actually got into it. And you know, there's so many steps that you need to take before you step out and you actually file for divorce. So this checklist is like a pre-divorce checklist, as it were. It's super comprehensive. I think it's like 3 or 5 pages of just bullet points of things that you need to look at before you even sneeze or even like whisper that divorce is about to happen. This is for you if you're still in your relationship. So that's a bonus for those of you who need that. And it also works well for you if you are already divorced and like you're still single or you're trying to find a new mate, how to set yourself up for success so you're not scared to go into your new relationship. Okay, so that is the escape plan checklist, which we're gonna go over we're gonna use the matrix to go over any issues that you are having. And the matrix will help you demystify, lower your anxiety, because there's things that you're probably freaked out about that, I hate to break it to you, they're not as bad as it seems. You know, it's not as bad as it actually feels. Like it feels very heavy. It probably feels very, you know, like even when I wanted to take my own life, I was like, what is the likelihood of me having to see him every day or him being part of my life and all of that? Yeah, seeing him is pretty bad, but even seeing him, like what is he actually going to do to me if we are at the park together? If we are at, well, we work together, so it was a different level of severity for me. But you know, like what is the severity that he's actually going to come at me in a public place? Or because I was scared to leave my house. And so if I had this checklist, you know, there's a lot of different things in my life that would have went very differently, but I made decisions out of fear. But even if he threatens you, you can use this. It's like, you're threatening me. What's the likelihood of that you actually being able to do the thing that you're telling me you're going to do to me? And if it happens, what's the severity? If the severity is high, like he's going to kill you, there's a very high consequence, very high severity of that action. But yeah, if there's something that is high, right, in the refinery, if something was high, we would have mitigation steps. Like it would tell us what kinds of mitigation steps to put in place. What types of alert systems and tracking monitoring systems would have to install because the severity, the risk was very high for this particular incident reoccurring or even future occurrence. So that's the kind of things that we're going to be talking about on the resilience reboot, looking at all of your stuff. Logic, it's not, yes, we will do like talking, but I'm not a therapist. I am a great listener. I really am. But I really want to help you move past the fear, right? We got to move through the fear. We got to move forward with our lives. We can't stay stuck here, right? If you're a believer, this is where the enemy wants you. He wants you stuck. He wants you in fear. Use the tools to get you from fear to faith. We can quantify fear. We can quantify risk and anxiety. It's a science. Just like neuro-linguistic programming, body language is a science. Essential oils is a science. All of these things are scientifical. They're not, but everything's science. It's all calculatable. So I am complete. If you guys have any questions, drop them below. Thank you, Nicolette, for being here live. I think that's you. I see one person still live. But yeah, thank you so much for being part of the summit. I have loved having you. I'm sending out the surveys. Get back to me. There's a list of topics in there that you want to that I want to teach on, and I want to make sure the masterclass is beneficial for the majority. And so there's 5 topics in there. Choose 3 out of the 5, and whatever one gets the highest results will be the winner, and I will teach that masterclass. So have a great weekend. Thank you so much for being here all week, and I love you, and I'll see you guys soon. Okay, bye. Oh yeah, don't forget, the interviews go down Sunday at midnight, so they're gonna go bye-bye. So listen to them over the weekend, and yeah, I'm gonna keep the contest live over the weekend, because I know a lot of you, when I reached out and contacted you, you said you were gonna listen to them over the weekend. So I'm gonna leave the contest live, go back, answer the contest questions, watch these lives for, recap stuff and personal stories of how these tips actually worked in my life. Okay, with that, I'm signing off. See you guys on Monday. I'll pop in the group and like tally up all the points for the questions, but yeah. Woo. Hair. Yeah. Oh, did you guys see my white hair? Anyway, love you guys. Talk to you guys again soon. Okay, bye.